Put on the green light because Broadway shows don't get much bigger or flashier than this. It's A Great Gatsby, the amazing and extravagant new Broadway musical based on F. Scott Fitzgerald's iconic novel. Here's Beth Stevens with another edition of Building Broadway.
Thanks, Tamsin. Tony-winning costume designer Linda Cho has designed 3 shows on Broadway this season: Harmony, Doubt, and now The Great Gatsby. We're here at the Broadway Theater to see her lush designs for the new musical set in the Roaring '20s. When people think of the 1920s, I think that most people think of a flapper, and they think of a very specific silhouette.
Yes.
Were you adhering to that?
We have some of those. We have definitely the fringe skirts. Some of the things about the 20s that we think about the classic silhouette is the slim hips with the flat chest, and humans are not all built with those proportions. So just celebrating everyone's shape and saying, you know what, I know in the 20s we did the drop waist and that particular silhouette, but let's cheat. Let's give everyone a snatch waist, and let's make sure that everyone can do a big kick so that we can accommodate this amazing choreography as well. So we do all these cheats. I call it cheater 20s. Like we're doing 20s, but we're cheating in every way that I feel is necessary.
Tell me how you had your costumes integrate with the choreography and with the direction.
So seeing, for instance, there's a number called Shady, and they're dancing in trench coats. And to accommodate this idea with the swinging coats, I was thinking of bats, quite frankly. Sometimes I use flowers or animals or jewels or whatever as sources of inspiration. And so each of those trench coats are able to spread in complete circle and
like
move,
a wingspan.
So and that was all inspired by Dom's choreography. In New Money, that is the most blown out, extravagant scene of our musical. What I wanted visually was height and giant sleeves, long trains like you see here, but that is not possible with the kind of choreography that you'll see on stage. So I was like, can we have a costume parade? Can they walk in and have a moment where they have everything that they can't dance in, and then they'll run off stage, take it all off, and then come back in something they're able to dance in. So that's another way that we work with the choreographer in terms of movement.
And you also designed the headpieces, which have a very specific Art Deco feel.
Yes. Headpieces I've learned from various shows in the past, they have to be lightweight and they have to be secure. They're gorgeous and completely unpractical for dancing. So
right.
Those are the things that I got to put everything that I've ever wanted in a big, crazy 1920s party on stage.
The novel touches a lot on class, on wealth. How did that theme reflect in the costumes?
Well, you will see very sparkly things, but you will also see the Wilson's Garage world and the people that populate that. So you will see and feel the disparity in socioeconomic levels. So one of the more surprising things about costumes is we have professional distressers who will take a beautiful period costume and then make it look like it has been through the war with painted distressing. But it's a very artful skill set that people have, that being realistic about how things age and where dirt collects and where things are worn on your knees, and like where do people sweat? Like all these things are considered when we're creating these costumes for that particular world.
The other thing people think about when they think about Gatsby is the word opulence, and it sounds like with over 300 costumes for a relatively small company, you got to go all out. Did that feel great for you?
It does. I mean, you don't get a lot of opportunities to do a giant period musical with seemingly endless resources and just sort of design the dream. So
I mean, Daisy alone has, I think, 10 costume changes.
Yes.
That's a lot.
We definitely wanted her to be a fashion show. Every time she comes on, it should be something different. It should be something floaty. Everything should move. Everything should just look like a dream, like Gatsby's dream.
Tell me about your process, from your inspiration to the actual built costumes.
I start with as much research as I can gather about the period. I also get all the images that the set designer is looking at in his process as well. And so I can integrate that. For instance, you'll see in La Di Da, there's a backdrop that has these deco arches, and I use that in one of the headpieces so that motif is repeated and she belongs to the space. So after looking at all the research and gathering all the images, just flooding myself with as much imagery as I can, I put pencil to paper, and I use mechanical pencil so I don't even have to look for a pencil sharpener, and computer paper, and just draw the silhouette. Then they're photocopied and shrunken down so that I'm painting sketches that are about this big, sort of necessary for a show with 350 costumes plus.
And you paint them yourself,
and I paint
watercolor?
them myself, yep. And then that's given to my team. All of that information is delivered through the sketches, and that's the process. And we go on stage. I see it in dress rehearsal, then I'll be like, oh my God, there's 2 yellow dresses beside each other. We'll have to change that one, so we quickly build a new one, and then we get to opening night.
I think it's what makes Broadway so special, is that it's so handmade.
Absolutely. Yeah, and the people the makers that are involved, they're the next level. I might draw a scribble in terms of like how I want this headpiece made, but it's the hat maker then, the milliner, who will like come in with their skill and their artistry and say, oh, that scribble, what if it was this jewel with this golden framework? And then that is the level of artistry that takes it to the next level.